Alright, so I'm gonna just record a little demo, just explaining this little setup here, the way I grouped this car, and I'm going to talk about how to set up some attributes to make the animating a little easier. Um, so you can see here that I have this car group that kind of contains everything. Um, I have a group for my wheels, and each wheel, the pivot is in the center of the wheel so that they can eventually rotate with the car's movement. So each wheel can rotate independently. I also have these wheels grouped, and the pivot is at the bottom so that I can have some squash. And for my car body, I have a car scale, which again is at the bottom. The pivot is at the bottom of the car so that I can scale, squash and stretch. And I also have a rotate at the bottom so that I can have a little wobble. I can rotate sideways and also wobble back and forth. And because I have these groups, I won't even have to touch the actual body. I just want to animate these groups. And then that's pretty much it. And then I have this this control here that's going to control the movement of my car, and I have this car wheel here, or car wheel control, that I'm going to put an attribute on there that's going to control the rotation of my wheels. Okay, so this grouping is important so that I can eventually, if I want to create a motion path, I can constrain this control to the motion path and still have the ability to animate all of these different attributes. Okay, so first things first, let's control make an attribute for the rotation of my wheel so that I don't have to animate each wheel individually. So we're gonna do that by creating set driven keys. So I already created this wheel rotate attribute, and I'm just going to delete that and recreate it so you guys can see. So in my controller, I'm just going to add attribute and rename that wheel rotate. And I'm not going to set a min and max because we want it to kind of roll seamlessly, and we're not going to have a min and max. It's going to be like a looping type of thing. So that's that. So let's set our driven keys now. So we're going to go to animation menu, key, set driven key, set. And this controller here is going to be the driver. And we'll just select one of the wheels for now, hit load driven. Basically, I want to control a single rotation of my wheel. So that's what we're going to do in our set driven keys. So with the wheel rotate attribute at 0 and the rotation of my wheel at 0, I'm going to hit key on both. And now with my wheel rotate at 1 and my rotation at 360, I'm going to key it. So now I have a set driven key from 0 to 1 that's going from a rotation of 0 to a rotation of 360. So if I drag this value out, you'll see that it rotates from 0 to 360. But I want it so that if I keep dragging it past the value 1, it continues to rotate. So what I'm going to do is open up my graph editor, and I'll see that I have this curve here with my two set driven keys, and what I want it to do is loop continuously so that when I go past the value 1, it continues to roll. So first I'm going to set my keyframes to linear, and then I'm going to go to curves, pre-infinity, cycle with offset, curves, post-infinity, cycle with offset. So now if I drag this value, no matter how far I drag it, it's going to continue to roll. Okay, so no matter what number I put in this wheel rotate value, it's going to keep rotating. And I'm just going to keep repeat that process for the other wheels. So now this attribute controls the rotation of all of my wheels. Okay? Awesome. So now we can tie the movement of this control to the rotation of my wheels so that if this control moves forward, my wheels will rotate with it. Okay? So same kind of process here. So this is going to be my driver, and this is going to be my driven. Okay? So I'm going to connect the translate Z to the wheel rotate attribute. Okay? So I'll say when my car moves this far, it'll rotate one time. So at this translate Z, I'll select my wheel control and move it over 1. And I'll hit key. And now, when my car goes this far backwards, it'll rotate a value of -1. And I'll hit key. So I'll bring this back. So you can already see from 1 to -1, it's rolling just based on the translate Z of my car control. So I'm going to put this at a value of 0 and do the same thing where I create a post cycle and pre-cycle infinity curve. So I'm going to select this. What do I select? This control. I'm going to select this controller, go to Windows, Animation, Graph Editor, and we'll see my keyframes here. I'm going to set it to linear, curves, pre-infinity, cycle, post-infinity, cycle. Did I do pre-infinity, cycle, to offset? Okay. So now, when I move my car, no matter how far I go, the wheels will rotate. Okay? So now it's super convenient. I don't even have to animate the rotation of my wheels because they're tied to the movement of my car control. Okay? So before I mentioned, and as you can see, I have these scale and rotate groups, and in my car control, I added all these attributes: car scale, car wobble, wheel squash, and wheels rotate, so that we can have more control over our various objects and animation attributes, and we have them all accessible just under this control. So I'm going to do the same thing and use set driven keys to tie these attributes to these groups. So first, let's do the car scale. So if I go to Windows, General, no, key, set driven key, set. So this control is going to be my driver, and the car body scale is going to be my driven. I'm going to select my car scale attribute and my scale Y attribute. And since they're both at a value of 0, I'm going to hit key. And now I'm going to move this car scale value to 1, and I'm going to scale my scale group to a value of like 1.2, maybe 1.3, yeah, and hit key. And then I'm going to move my car scale value to -1, and maybe scale my scale group to like 0.8, maybe 0.75, yeah, and I'll hit key. Alright, so now if I scrub through this attribute here, I have this scale. Cool. And again, now I can move my car and animate this scale here. Okay, so move this back to 0. So now let's do the car wobble. So I'm going to have my car control load driver, and then I'm going to select the car body rotate group, load driven, and this is going to be rotate Z. So I'm going to select rotate Z. So with my car control car wobble at 0 and my car body rotate at 0, I'm going to hit key, and then I'm going to make my car wobble -1, and I'm going to rotate it maybe -16. And I'm going to hit key. I'm going to go to +1, rotate my car body group +16, and hit key. So now I have this new attribute, car wobble, that I can control the wobble of my car. Okay, so I can control the wobble, and I can control the scale. Cool. Alright, I'm going to do the front wheel attribute now. So I'm going to go to my set driven key window. Going to select my control here, load driver, select these wheels here, load driven, and you can see that these are rotated in X already, and my pivot is in object mode. I'm just going to change it to world mode so that I can rotate it like this. So it's going to be my rotate Y value. So let's see if we can do this. So I'm going to select the F wheels rotate attribute, select, this is my wheel R, it's actually my front wheel, I have these reversed, that's okay. This is my wheel, and it's to my left side, it's okay. Label your objects properly. So this is my rotate Y. So I'm going to select my rotate Y, so with F wheels rotate at 0, and my wheel rotation at 0, hit key, and now with my rotation at -1, and my wheel rotation, let's say at, make it like this, 38, hit key, and then at value 1, I'm going to make my rotation +38, or -38, sorry, and key. So now I should have this working like that, and I'm just going to do the same thing with this wheel. So F wheels rotate is at 0, this rotation is at 0, I'm going to hit key, and then with this value at 1, I'm going to rotate this guy -38, hit key, and then at a value of -1, now I have this rotation. Okay. And now I can do these wheels squash as well. So let's do that, and we're gonna select our wheels group, select driven, select scale Y, so our wheel squash value is at 0, our wheels group scale is at 1, which is what we want, so key, and then we'll say at 0, or at, we'll say at 1, our wheel squash, we're going to make it 0.5, nah, it's too much, 0.8, 0.75, that's a full squash, so key, and that's all we need for that. So it's going to be 0 to 1. But we do have a -1 value. I'm just going to edit that. That's fine. I'm going to edit that so we have a minimum 0. This is just going to be my squash. Okay? So now I have all these different attributes that I can edit just in my car control here. So my wheels rotate automatically. I have my car scale, my car wobble, wheel squash, wheels rotate. Okay? And you can really create as many attributes as you want to make your life easier. You can also hide this. And any of the objects that I don't want to touch, like I don't need to actually touch any of the wheels anymore. So I'm going to select all the wheels. Let me delete this. And I'm going to hit this button here, which is going to add selected object to this group. I'm just going to rename this don't touch group. And now if I change this setting to R, now I can't touch these groups, okay? And again, I don't want my, I don't need to touch my car to animate it. I have all the groups and these controls here. So I'm going to select my car and add this guy to the group, add selected objects. Okay. So now I can't select anything except for this curve. Okay. Cool. Might want my my translates here. So let's bring back the other translates. Okay, so now I should be able to move this guy. So I can move this up to the side and still be able to animate this stuff. Okay. And I'll bring back my rotation too.